Whenever you're ready.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Just Minding My Business Media on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Share us with your family, friends, and colleagues. Engage with us by leaving a review or comment. Your support keeps this podcast going and growing. Visit our website at jmmbmediallc.com to learn how we can support you in getting more visibility on your products and services. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Well, I am so happy to bring to the Just Minding My Business platform Thomas Ryan, who is the CEO and founder of Bigly Sales and is a visionary leader reshaping the sales landscape through innovative AI solutions. With a background in staffing and executive experience at Workbeast LLC, Thomas identified the need for streamlined sales processes in the evolving market. His journey from the staff industry to the forefront of AI driven sales reflects his dedication to leverage technology evident in Bigly Sales' cutting edge tools for lead generation and customizable landing pages. Thomas's commitment to efficiency and client appreciation positions Bigly Sales as a trailblazer in the tech industry, showcasing his ongoing dedication to enhancing the sales experience through the power of artificial tech. Into, I'm so excited, Thomas. I'm getting spitty. All right, so let's dive right in, Thomas, because everybody want to make money. That's why we're in business. So, AI and sales. How are you guys utilizing AI to help companies?
So without an API or without something with the AI, it's useful, right? But it's useful kind of like Google is useful. You can go in, you can do a search, you can write something for you. So what we're doing is we're taking the AI and we're actually allowing it to handle phone calls. So you can call in and it'll sound like a live agent is answering that phone call, and it will be able to do everything that a live agent can do. It can ask qualifying questions, it can do intake questions, it can do live transfers afterwards if there's a licensed agent required, or schedule meetings. And we're actually combining that tool with SMS and going back and forth between the two of those. So the whole flow of the process for the stuff that we're building is you can use the AI to create a landing page for you in, a few minutes, have that landing page customized. And then we have a TCPA compliant form where someone can fill out the form. That lead will come into the system and the AI will then text and call that lead until it gets to a conversion event. So we're automating the entire sales process using AI.
Wow, that is amazing because that's the struggle of especially the smaller businesses is having the time to make the phone calls, do the necessary follow-ups that's required to get yes.
Yep.
And I'm like many businesses, I struggle with that, especially if you are wearing a lot of hats. It definitely gets pushed down to the bottom of the barrel sometimes. So this is so refreshing to hear that your company is doing this to take that pressure off of the smaller businesses. And not only for small businesses, but for bigger businesses, it's definitely going to be a win-win as well. So you kind of went through all of the questions I had in one comment.
Ah, that's too funny. No, I think you're exactly right, though. I think, for smaller businesses, let's say you have some sort of home service type business, right? You're doing repairs, you're doing roofing, you're doing plumbing, you're doing electrical, you're doing something in someone's home.
Hmm.
With those sort of businesses, the speed to lead is so important, it's crazy. The numbers are something along the lines of a 95% drop in sales if you don't get back to that lead in an hour. And it makes sense. If your roof is leaking, right,
Yeah.
and that first person doesn't pick up the phone, you're calling someone else and you're calling someone else until you get someone over there to fix that roof leak because you don't want a flood in your house, right?
Hmm.
So being able to field that call in an automated fashion, usually the first person to get that call is going to win, right? The first person who picks up the phone and can be there that day is the one who's going to get that business. So if you're talking about plumbing or you're talking about roofing, you're talking about, anything along those lines, it's usually the first one in the door ends up winning. We're dealing with a lot of healthcare clients as well, health insurance. And with them, it's the same thing. It's usually the first agent that you talk to is the one that you end up going with. So, that brings up two things. One, how do you get those leads in the door? Right. And then how do you respond to those leads when they come in so you're not throwing money away?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so let me just ask you, what is the process to be able to connect with your company? How do you work with different businesses?
So you can find us at bigleysales.com. If you come over there, you'll find us and you'll just fill out one of our lead forms that we have or call the phone number on there and it'll go through the whole intake process with you. So
Yes.
we've automated the whole thing.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
just go to bigleysales.com and you can find us there.
Now, my next question, a lot of people, businesses are already using a CRM.
Yep.
Can your product be integrated within most CRMs?
Yeah, so we have a direct integration with HubSpot. We have a direct integration with Outlook. We have a direct integration with Salesforce, and we have an open API. And all that means is an API, that's how computers talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So our system can talk to any other system that has an open API, and most of the CRMs out there are going to have it. We also have Zapier integration, and they're connected to about 4,000 other apps. So between those two, we cover almost anyone that's open.
Okay, so I'm curious. Okay, somebody goes to my website and they fill out a form wanting to speak to me about one of my products. Do you have to train AI to be able to respond?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
So we make that process really easy with the AI. Everyone thinks the AI it's this all learning, all knowing intelligence. It's not the way it works. Right now, it's a computer system. And what they've done with the AI, if you look at ChatGPT or Claude or one of the big ones that are out there, the way that these work is they've basically taken everything that was put on the internet, everything that's on Google,
Mm-hmm.
and they then fed that into the AI to train it. So ChatGPT has been trained on something like 1.7 trillion data points. But if something new happens, it either has to search the internet to find it. So if you asked it, who won the basketball game last night, it's not going to know, right? It needs to go and search the internet and find the answer, and then it can regurgitate the answer for you. But it doesn't really think the way people are thinking about it. What it does is they've fed all this data into it. It knows how things are written. It knows typically what goes together, and it basically guesses the next word.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, write me a love story, it's read every love story that's ever been written, and it knows approximately how a love story is going to be set up. And it will go from one to the next. And if you say write it like William Shakespeare, it will have taken all of Shakespeare's work, and it'll know the sort of words that Shakespeare uses, and it
Mm-hmm.
will, spit out words that are more along those lines. And it just kind of guesses what the correct output is going to be. And sometimes it gets it wrong. So, there's certain things we do with it. Like we say, one, don't make things up. Now, you wouldn't think that this is that big a deal, but sometimes if it just doesn't have a variable, it just puts one in there. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard about this the other day where someone gave away, I believe it was a flight for $1 because it didn't have the price and they didn't really give it good instructions.
Wow.
And it just said, "Oh, we can do it for $1." And it picked kind of a number out of the hat, and someone got a flight for $1, and they said they had to honor it. So yeah, you definitely want to do it right. What we do is we have the most common sales questions, and you can plug in the 20 most common sales questions. And then if there's
Mhm.
unique questions for your business that you get all the time, you can plug those in as well. So it has something to work off of. And then any written documentation. Let's say you have a couple hundred pages of written documentation, you can feed those into it as well. And then we use something called a RAG retrieval system, and it goes and it finds the appropriate thing. We have a vector database set up. And anyway, um, there's a bunch of different, retrieval tricks that you can use. So it doesn't have to read the entire document. It doesn't have to read a couple hundred pages of documentation every time because that gets real expensive.
Oh,
And then we can find the appropriate thing that you're looking for and serve it up.
oh, okay, okay. Because I've used some of the like in on a smaller scale where like somebody give me a a review on the podcast. Okay, and I've been using AI, and what I found is it kind of says the same thing I said the last time using that person's name, which I don't like to do because to me, each person is different. There was a different conversation, and I want to be able to be more personable when I'm speaking to somebody that left a review. So I'm working through that now to get it to be my voice.
Yeah, and you can either say if you've done a lot of writing and your writing is out there on the internet and it knows your style, it can say, "This is who I am, use my voice and my style."
Okay.
Um, or if there's a writer that you like, you can say, "Write it in this type of style." A lot of people will do the Hemingway style.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a pretty common one. That's something that we use internally. That will say, "Hey, write this in the Hemingway style," because it's short and direct and succinct.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just give it those instructions. And, a lot of things that we'll say is write like an expert, talk like you're an expert in this field, or give it a tone. I mean, you can say write like The Rock if you want to, like, pretend you're The Rock and write in the style of The Rock. And it'll say something like, "Hey, jabroni, let's do this." So you can play around with it however you want with that, but just the writing is just the tip of the iceberg for what it can do. It's really taken, if you think what's language, right? There, to me, language is almost anything. Mathematics is a language.
Mm-hmm.
Vibrations are a language. If you look at your genetic code, they can break that down to A's and T's, and it's
Absolutely.
you have four different letters that are language. So it's starting to do things with language that I think are going to be pretty incredible over time here. That as the capabilities advance, some of the things they're saying, can this really understand the vibrations of the universe? Can this understand how proteins are folded? Um, you know, can we talk to animals? And that's one of the things they're saying that, if you take a look at how language is structured, this is just something weird that if you look at any language, there's a breakdown of the most common words to the least common words. And if
Mm-hmm.
noise is random, it goes, in a line, right? It's flat.
Mm-hmm.
If there's words and structure, it's diagonal. There's words like the in the English language, or a, very common. They're used all the time. They're used in almost every sentence. And then, there's words that are used less, 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 less. And
Hmm.
if you look at something like dolphins, they have those same linguistic characteristics in the sounds that they make that people do. It doesn't matter if you're listening to French or, Chinese or Spanish or English or whatever, everything has that same curve. And they say if you look at dolphins, they have that same curve as well. So they'll probably be able to translate, what animals are saying. I don't know if dolphins have anything good to say, but I'm hungry, whatever. Let's play. I mean, but there'll be, ancient languages. They think they'll be able to translate. I mean, all sorts of different things with this. They're just scratching the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, yes. And it's like, wow, there's so much you can do with AI, and it's it's like evolving right in front of our eyes, you know. So, if people want to work with you, how do they connect?
Well, with us, you just go to bigleysales.com and it's easy. So we're happy to work with businesses that are looking to automate, especially if they have a large call center or a large number of leads coming in the door.
Okay.
Um, and my recommendation would be anyone who hasn't played with these tools yet, go and start playing with them, right? Go sign up for ChatGPT and have it make some images for you, have it make a logo for you in about 10 seconds.
Wow.
um have it create any graphic design that you want, or Midjourney is another one for the graphic design. If you're looking to grab data from the internet, try Rose AI or try Phantom Buster or something like that, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
realize that you can, grab thousands of data points and, organize them in a couple of seconds. I mean, there's just so many of these different tools that are out there these days, that are just wildly useful for businesses.
Yes.
For writing stuff. I mean, writing. We're doing something like 20 SEO documents a day now, 20 articles a day that our team is putting out, and they're doing it using ChatGPT, using Claude, and then going and reviewing that work, editing it, still putting that human touch on there,
Mm-hmm.
and putting that out there. So they're able to create just a tremendous amount of content on a daily basis using these tools. There's so many use cases. The other big one is anything that is kind of a repetitive manual task now. I was talking to guys from another company. They had something that was inputted every day. They would get emails from their clients, and then they would have to take that email and they'd have to input it into their computer system. And every time they did this, it took them like a half hour.
Mm.
And they were doing, 1,000 of these a day,
Wow.
something like that. So you're saying they're spending 500 hours a day taking data from their email and sticking it into the computer system. Well, they just automated that with ChatGPT. It took a few weeks worth of work, but now it saves them 500 hours
Yeah.
every single day.
And that's huge.
Yeah, and any process that a business has that's manual like that, where they're taking data from one place and sticking it into another system, the LLMs are going to be able to automate that process. So that's something any decent sized business is going to have if they look around, and they'll be able to take that process and automate it and get an immediate time and cost savings.
Yes, yes, because I mean, even my business, I use it to write stuff, and it has been amazing. You know,
Yeah,
what would it took me probably hours, because you know how you got to get your creativity juices flowing. You know, a lot of times I'll just put what I want to talk about, and AI just spits it out, and then I put my voice on it,
that's
wh-
right.
which takes considerably less time.
And it still feels like you,
Yes,
right? Because you're still editing it and changing it around and making it your own.
yes.
So it still sounds like you and feels like you. And if it says something that you don't agree with, you take it out and you
Yes.
put in your own thing.
Yeah.
So it still has that feel, that look and feel at the end, but it saved you probably 80% of the time.
Yes.
If it was going to
Absolutely.
take you 5 hours, now it's, 30 minutes or an hour.
Yes, exactly. So I'm loving that. So now I'm exploring other things that I can do with it as well, like the automation pieces, which is a little bit more involved because I need my voice in it. So I've got to make sure I train it to put, me, because I want it to sound like me. Now, my next question for you. Now, we've all heard in the news the government, is maybe putting some regulations in for AI. So, what do you see how upcoming regulations could impact the use of AI within the sales strategy?
We'll see what they end up doing with it. So, one thing that we know they're doing with regulations is I don't know how familiar you are with the TCPA.
Okay.
Uh,
What
but the
is
Telephone Consumer Protection Act is out there.
Mhm,
And over the last year, and it's probably really good that they did this, they have said that if you're going to reach out to a consumer, you need their permission.
mhm,
And if you're using electronic means to reach out to them, if you're sending texts or if you're calling them and you're using technology, you absolutely need their permission, or they can go and they can sue and they're going to win and you're going to get a big fine.
mhm.
So, what most of the companies are doing now that are a little bit bigger is they're either running Google ads or Facebook ads. Or I was actually at a leads conference where there's a lot of companies where their expertise is running these ads. And then
Mhm.
once they have the ads in, they'll sell you the results. Right.
Oh.
So they'll say, okay, we got a lead in and we're going to sell it to you. And that lead is $10 or $50 or $100, whatever the number might be.
Mhm.
Excuse me for 1 second.
That's okay.
But they have this lead. They say this lead was acquired in a compliant way. We ran some sort of media to get this. We had an SEO article, right? We had an article that was out there on Google, or we had an advertisement on Google or a web form, or a Facebook ad. And
Mhm.
then once they have that lead in, they make sure that they get a recording of the person actually filling out the information. That there's
Ah.
usually on these lead forms now, there's two big companies that do this. One's called Trusted Form and others called Janaya. And the way it works is they will take a screenshot of the person actually filling out that lead to make sure that they really did it.
Ah, okay.
And then, as long as the right legal language is there, you have the ability to reach out to that person.
Mhm,
That they want some sort of legal disclaimers on there that say, look, you're giving me permission to reach out and to contact you.
mhm.
And that's why you're filling out this form. And as long as you do that, then you can reach out to that person for the next 3 months. So, from a legal perspective, if a business is just cold calling consumers these days, it's a matter of time before you can get in a little bit of trouble for that. And the more aggressive and automated that is, the more trouble you're likely to get in if you're not following these policies and procedures.
Yes, because I get so many calls. I think the whole world does, with people just calling you up about, especially lately, the what is it, the healthcare programs. First, they would only call you during re-enrollment
Yep.
periods. Now it's like they calling you all year.
So if they don't have permission to do that, that's actually illegal. If you didn't fill out a form, the way it works with these forms is you fill out one form and they have some language in there that says, oh, we can actually give this data to our partners as well. And they'll sell that data to their partners. So you'll fill out a form thinking it's for one company, and then you'll get called by 50 different companies over the next 3 or 4 months. As long as you're on the do not call list, you should have only 90 days of them calling before they don't call you anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and
You,
you'll even notice it'll be like after 30 days, all of a sudden you'll get a whole flood of things again because someone has just sold that data at the 30-day mark. So
oh,
with the new protections that are going in next year, everything has to be a one-to-one relationship, which means if you give your data to, United Healthcare can reach out to you. Someone else can't reach out to you.
oh,
And
that's lovely.
yeah, so they're changing these rules, and it's a good thing because with the automation now, it used to be you had to have a call center to at least make these calls, and
Yes.
maybe that call center had a dialer, but with the I can go, okay, so we're going to do 100 calls a day. Well, this is working well. Why don't we do 1,000? Well, okay, it's still working well. Why don't we do 10,000? Why don't we do 100,000? Why don't we do a million? Why don't we do 10 million? Why don't we do 100 million? And could you imagine if there was 1,000 different businesses that were all making 100 million calls a day?
Wow.
So it's good they're getting in front of this. It,
Yes.
it, it really is. They have a lot of these protections already in place, but they're going to make them much stronger over the next year or so, which should mean less calls. It should mean that the cost of those leads are going to go up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it should be better for consumers in general.
Absolutely, because that is so, like my home phone, that's all I get.
You still have a home phone. That's the most
Yeah.
surprising thing.
When we had the little earthquake, my landline was the only thing working.
Yep, I
Only
believe
thing
that.
working. Yeah, I mean, the cell phones, you couldn't get out because everybody was trying to call at one time. And it's like, no, we can't handle all that. So nobody gets to call.
Yep.
But my landline still working. Wow. So, in terms of your vision in the advancement with the AI and sales, what do you vision?
I think any decent sized company, if we look out, let's say 3 years, this has taken over their call center. This has taken over their support. So right now, I feel that the customer support experience at a lot of big companies is not very good.
True.
So if I have a problem using something on Google, right, and I'm to try to call Google or try to get some support on something, you're not getting through. You're not speaking to someone. Like it's just not going to happen. Um, Oftentimes God forbid, I had a problem with my hotel room when I was going out to Vegas the other day, right? And I was trying to reach out to the company. Well, the company I booked through didn't have any support agents at all. They
Mm,
had some sort of email system, and then I sent an email and I never heard anything back on that email. And lo and behold, I got there and there's a problem with my hotel reservation. So I think what this is going to do is it's going to dramatically improve the support at all of these companies, that they're going to have this hooked up to their computer system and you're going to be able to go in there. They're going to need some sort of two-factor authentication, right? Just to
mhm.
make sure it's you. They'll send a text to your phone or some authenticator app or something like that. And once they've verified it's you, then they'll go through and you'll be able to handle all of that using the AI. So I see it fixing the support functions and getting rid of those horrible IVR systems that you have everywhere. And if you don't know what IVR is, that's for this, press one, for this, press two, for this, press
Oh
three.
my
So
God.
our hours have changed recently, and we're going to repeat it every time we have this phone call,
Yeah.
right? So you're trying to call someplace, you're trying to get something done. They put you in one of those, kind of nightmarish systems, and you hit a button and you go somewhere. It's not the right person, and they send you somewhere
Yes.
else. And every time you wait on hold, and before you know it, a half hour has gone by, and you still haven't fixed your issue.
Yes.
So the big thing I see is it fixing these things once and for all. That now you're going to be able to give all of the support type issues to the AI, and the AI is going to be able to handle all of those. So there's already some use cases on this. There's a big European company that did this, and they said their average resolution time went from 13 minutes to 2 minutes. That
Wow.
means every customer they have just saved 11 minutes,
Yes.
right? Which,
That's
so
critical.
Well, I mean, it's your time. You only have
Yes.
so much time on this earth, and I don't want to spend it on hold with Comcast.
Who you telling? And because I hate that. I'm so glad you mentioned them because it's like a loop. And then
Oh,
when the pandemic, my aunt who is almost 90 years old, she used to paying her bill on the phone talking to a live person. Well, it doesn't work that way. And then a lot of times the elderly have the biggest issue because if it asks for your let's say it asks for your telephone number, it just wants you to say your telephone number. Older people say, "My telephone number is," and it's like, we don't understand that. And then it's like repeating over and over and
and
over.
the AI understands that too. The AI can pick that up and figure out which part is the telephone number, get the telephone number from that conversation.
Yes, yes.
So,
So I'm excited about it, because already in my business, it has cut down on some time of things that I was doing. And for those companies out there that are still on the fence, they better get with the program because it's not going away.
yeah, I would say if you're a business owner, either go and play with some of these tools yourselves or assign it to someone on your team.
Hmm.
Assign it to someone on your team. How do we use AI in accounting to make us better? How do we use AI in legal to make us better? How do we use AI in customer support to make us better?
Hmm.
So what I'm doing is I'm doing the support and the sales solution. So if you don't want to figure it out all on your own and you just want it to come in and work for you and be able to be implemented, within a couple of days, that's the solution that I'm providing.
Yes, and that's a great
But
solution.
but you can use it for everything, and literally every department, they should cut cost, save you time, pretty much immediately. I mean, a lot of these are wins that you can get, almost overnight.
Mm.
So we were doing a coding contest the other day. We did a coding contest in India, so we were trying to hire some new developers, and we went to the user group for the language that we chose to do a lot of our work in,
Hmm.
and they had a developer conference with a couple thousand developers there. So we sponsored a coding competition. Now, I had never written the rules for a coding competition before. Lo and behold, I didn't really know what to do. So I went and I looked for a coding competition. We found Google had put one on. I said, okay, they probably are pretty by the book. They know the rules. They should know something about coding, right? And then we took their document, we gave it to ChatGPT, and we said, modify this document to be the rules for a coding contest for what we're trying to do. And it took it and it modified it and it put all the rules together. And then we got done. And I said, okay, that took 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then I said, can you make this better? And it said, sure can. And it went through and then changed it and said, here's how we can make this better. Here's how we can make this better. Here's how we can make this better. And then it proofread its own work and came up with a bunch of changes where it could be improved.
Wow.
And, the whole thing took maybe a half hour to get done, where it would have been, I don't know how I would have put that together. It would have
Yeah.
taken me days had I not had something like that to use.
Hmm.
Right. So, I mean, that's just a very simple kind of use case. Whenever there's something you don't know like that needs to be written, technical documentation. I'll give you another example. I have a friend who's corporate counsel at a Fortune 500 company. And he went to a group with a bunch of other lawyers for Fortune 500s. And the guy said, we spent $3 million on outside counsel last year. This year, we just used ChatGPT, or they used LexisNexis's version, right?
Hmm.
They used the legal one from LexisNexis that they know is going to have all the right legal stuff in there. But they said rather than go use outside counsel, they were able to just give it to the LLM and have it spit out the answers for them. And
Wow.
it literally saved them $3 million this year. And they were saying this in a room in front of, a couple hundred other guys at Fortune 500 companies who were other attorneys. And basically they all said, yeah, this is what we're all going to do going forward.
Yeah. Because everybody wants to save. Now, do you see it replacing jobs? Because that's the other fear that's out there.
So Ida, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It is 100% going to take jobs. There's 1,000% chance this takes jobs. Now, the sort of roles it's going to take, though, are a lot of things that where a person is taking information and basically inputting it into a computer. They're taking it from
Hmm.
one computer and inputting into another. They're taking from an email and they're putting it into the computer. I'm speaking to you and taking what you're saying and punching it into the computer, just like you said. Uh, hey, someone wants to pay their bill and they're taking their credit card information and punching it in. So a lot of the jobs like that I see being replaced. In fact, I'll even go a step further and say within the next 5 years here, everything you do on a computer, this will be able to do faster, easier, and cheaper.
Hmm.
Now, what that's going to mean is now at your fingertips, you can do stuff that would have taken you weeks to do before, or stuff that would have been impossible for you to do before. So yeah, it's going to take jobs. It's also going to create companies in the tens and hundreds of millions that have one or two people running them that
Hmm.
are doing, 100 million in sales, because before you would have needed an army to do that amount of work. Now you can do it on your own. So I think it's going to create a ton of new jobs as well. But a
Hmm.
lot of the jobs that are, kind of manual data entry are going to go away. So I really see it hitting jobs in places like the Philippines and India and Pakistan. They're going to have it a lot worse than we do in the US.
Hmm.
Um, but it's going to kill jobs, but it's going to create a bunch of jobs as well. So there's that dichotomy. If you go back a couple hundred years, right, you went to the founding in the United States,
Hmm.
over 90% of the people worked in the fields,
Yes.
right? Everyone. Doesn't matter, where you were from, you had a farm,
Yeah.
right? Everyone worked on the farm,
So everybody was
and
a
then you had
farmer.
about three lawyers, right? Everyone was a farmer, everyone.
Yeah.
And if you went and you said, well, all these machines are coming in, you know, what am I going to do now? No one would know what they're going to do. But now everyone has a different job and we have an unemployment rate of about 4%.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
96 out of every 100 people have a job who wants one. And no one is doing farming anymore almost, right? And the same thing happened with the Industrial Revolution. You had all these people working, and oh my God, we have these giant factories. And what am I going to do now? If John Henry, steel driving man, right?
Hmm.
John Henry, he went 12, the machine only went 9. Well, the machine ended up winning, but we don't need everyone working in coal mines anymore. Um, so I think it's going to advance the world. It's going to be a huge step up in productivity. There's going to be new things that are created from it, things that were just impossible a year or two ago that were created from this. But yeah, if your job is answering the phone or taking data from the one system, putting it into the other, I would immediately start learning how to use these tools, because those are going to be the jobs that are coming
Yeah.
up.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, Thomas, this is amazing. We could talk all day. But again, how do people connect with your company and to get more information?
Bigleysales.com, BIGLYSALES.com. You can go, you can find us at Bigley Sales, and, love to help your business with the transformation here, save
Mm.
you all some money, make sure you're answering every lead as soon as it comes in.
Absolutely. As I like that because that's the biggest thing. Customer support and sales.
Yeah.
That's
And
two of
that's
the
why we
biggest.
did this. So I had a send in platform before this. So we were already dealing with sending tons of emails and text messages and phone calls and tracking where everything went. And we would see people use some of these tools that we'd built, and they would go and they would send a message out to their customers, and someone would send them a message back, and they wouldn't get back to them for 12 hours, for 2 days, for a week, whatever.
Or
And,
never.
and or never. I mean, but usually they'd get back to them, 3 days later, a week later, and they're saying, boy, this wasn't very effective. And I said, you didn't get back to the people for a week. How effective do you think it's going to be? So we saw the AI fixing all the problems. If I'm a customer and I'm having an issue, I want an answer now. I don't want an
Yeah,
answer in 15 minutes. I don't want an answer tomorrow in 12 hours in our 4-hour response time window. Like, I want my answer now.
right.
And that's what the AI does from a support standpoint.
Yes.
If I'm trying to book something, I want to book that appointment now. I don't want to book it, 4 hours from now when someone gets back to me. I don't want to go back and forth with them for 2 or 3 days.
Absolutely. And I worked in the support role in the IT space.
Yep.
And when your computer broke, you definitely don't want to wait. You want to talk to somebody right then and there.
100%.
None of that messaging back and forth. I hate that, So yes, I
And
can
we've
see.
it set up with any medium, right? So you can do it over SMS, right? You can do it over text message on your phone. You can do it over email. You can do
Mhm.
it via chatbot. You can do it via phone call. And we're adding Messenger in there next, which we should have out in a couple of weeks, where you'll be able to do it
Oh,
over
okay.
Messenger. So the idea is any way you communicate, now you can communicate with that company. And the whole thing is going to be automated where you get responses back instantaneously.
Wow, that's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bigsley Sales is for your support and sales,
That's right.
which is the biggest part of anybody's business.
If you don't have sales, you don't have a business.
You got that right. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. This has been amazing conversation, and we could talk all day about this because I'm one of those computer geeks, and AI is like fascinating to me. So we are definitely going to have to do this again and really get into some meat and potatoes on different areas within your arena.
I'd love to. Ida, thank you so much for having me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And audience, thank you.